For the first time, The Journey of the Highwayman presents the art according to 13 templates, which are essentially categories of seascapes and landscapes that give a comprehensive idea of the subject matter that both Bacchus and the highwaymen depicted. One is a practiced approach, displaying Bacchus's vision, the essential primer that captures so masterfully the natural beauty of Florida. The other is a practical approach that gets around the constraints of time, materials, and society, and in doing so fully engages the viewer in a unique, unparalleled expression of the Florida landscape, now all but vanished. The Journey of the Highwayman brings the story of this inspired and unorthodox art movement to life. No other tree, palm or pine included, is more identified with the highwaymen than the Royal Poinciana. A showy tropical tree native to Madagascar, it provides an eye-catching display. Known as the most colorful tree in the world, it grows in many places around southern Florida. Because it needs a tropical climate, however, it's susceptible to freezes, and recent hard winters have decreased its numbers. The ocean shore was tirelessly featured by Bacchus and the highwaymen, since it was not only a surefire seller, but also because the Atlantic Ocean was the connection to Florida for many of the people who bought the paintings. The breeze-blown palm standing on a sandy dune has become an iconographic staple of the highwaymen, handed down from Bacchus. The rhythmic action of the waves as they roll on the shore was another compelling subject, and like Bacchus, who painted its variations from sunrise to sunset, most of the artists attempted it. Florida's sunrises, and particularly its sunsets, depicted on canvas can seem almost garish for those who aren't familiar with this flaming spectacle of color. When the highwaymen paintings were rediscovered, art dealers and collectors looked at these blazing displays of color and began referring to them as fire skies. The wide Indian River Lagoon, dotted by Spoil Islands, was one of A.E. Bacchus's most beloved subjects, a landmark that he called home. The river's sandy shoreline can be mistaken for the beach in some paintings. The road that runs along the river's shores, Indian River Drive, connected Fort Pierce to its southerly neighbor, Jensen Beach. The picturesque St. Lucie River, a meandering waterway that extends from Stewart to Fort Pierce with public access at White City Park, provided a different kind of subject for the highwaymen. Today, for the most part, the wild banks of the river have been turned into suburban lawns and bear little resemblance to the paintings produced in the late 1960s. Florida's backcountry is an area little seen by visitors, yet it possesses an indelible beauty. Stands of oaks, parrots or saw cabbage palms, and a wild tangle of other plants grow together on a high ground, providing a canopy of both shade and shelter called, appropriately, a hammock. More than half of the undeveloped land in the state is virtually covered with pine trees. The slash pines stand tall on acres of saw palmetto growing out of the sandy soil, making an interesting visual rhythm for landscape painters. The Everglades, an impenetrable part of Florida, has always exerted a fascinating mystique as a place of incomparable natural beauty. The region made up of grasses is North America's only subtropical wilderness, now threatened by development. A.E. Backus was a landscape artist and not a portrait painter, something he would readily admit. It must have been kind of an emancipation for some of the highwaymen artists to see Backus painting a black man into his compositions. Depictions of life in Florida for blacks at that time are rare. Even rarer still are such works by black artists. An inescapable part of life in Florida is violent weather. The thunderstorms that turn the sky black and the air electric with lightning, and the big blows, the tropical storms and powerful hurricanes that are part of life in Florida. One of the more intriguing subjects, which presented its own technical difficulties, was painting the reflection of moonlight on water. With such a vast number of paintings that all fall into similar subject matter, there are some that can't be categorized. There are only a few examples of paintings that depict orange groves, sailboats, Caribbean island scenes, or flowers such as the hibiscus.